Hello everyone, how are you? You are watching Learning SS with Rajesh YouTube channel. Dear student, we have started lesson number 2 in history for 10th class Cbse. Name of lesson is Nationalism in India. I hope you got all the points taught in the previous videos that were related to nationalism in India. In the previous videos, we learnt about a rise of Mahatma Gandhi as a revolutionary in India, starting of Satyagraha and the revolting of Rowlatt Act and then starting of Khilafat and non-cooperation movement. Today we will read about the last one point of non-cooperation movement, that why did Mahatma Gandhi call off or withdraw non-cooperation movement. In Feb 1922, a peaceful demonstration in a bazaar of Chauri Chora in Gorakhpur, UP clashed with police. And we learnt in Satyagraha that Gandhiji was the worshipper of non-violence. And Gandhiji showed it at a violence. That's why Gandhiji called off non-cooperation movement. Because in Chauri Chora in Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh, people clashed with police. And in this incident, people burnt the police post. And policemen were burnt alive in this case. Near about 22 policemen were burnt alive in this case. That's why Gandhiji called off or withdrew the non-cooperation movement. I hope you learned the first major point of today, that why did Gandhiji call off non-cooperation movement. Now, next question will be in your mind, sir, was it the end of Mahatma Gandhi's revolt? No. We will read about the next movement started by Mahatma Gandhi, named as civil disobedience movement. But firstly, we will learn about that what were the in between step while Mahatma Gandhiji was going to start civil disobedience movement. In between, a Swaraj party was formed by the leaders within the Congress. Who were the leaders? Who formed Swaraj party? And what were the purpose of making that Swaraj party? We will read now. After the withdrawal of non-cooperation movement, leaders within the Congress wanted participate in elections. Firstly, you learned that yesterday in non-cooperation movement, people revolted against the elections also. But some people within the Congress that wanted to fight elections, participate in elections. Who were they? Now we will read. C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed a party named as Swaraj Party that was in favor of that elections, provincial or council elections. They thought that while being a part of councils, by choosing ourselves as a leader or being the part of council, they can talk to British for reforms easily, except of revolting against the Britisher in another way. They were in favor of election. That's why they were in favor of election. They thought that we can talk with Britisher as a representative. I hope you got this one. So there will be question in your exam, write a note on Swaraj party, or Swaraj party was in favor of council election. Elaborate the statement and you will write that how was the leader of Swaraj party were in favor of council election and why were they in favor of. Yes. Next point, in between the non-cooperation movement and in civil disobedience movement, there was another step or another major event was Simon Commission. A commission formed under John Simon was known as Simon Commission, and to look into the functioning of the constitutional system in India. It was a major work of Simon Commission. Simon Commission was launched by the British government to look into the functioning of constitutional system of India. And next, did not have a single Indian member. Why were Indian revolting this commission? Because it did not have single Indian member. All members were British. When it arrived in India in 1928, people greeted with "Go back Simon," a slogan, "Go back Simon." All people were revolting it with a black flag and while raising a slogan, "Go back Simon, go back Simon." And solution. What did the British government do solution for that protest of Simon Commission? The British government declared that India will be a dominion state. It will be a dominion status for India. It means Indian leader can run their government while we will control them, while the Britisher will control them. Next is a round table conference. Round table conference is the next major solution for it. The Britisher told the Indian to participate in round table conference. We will solve your problem there in London. I hope you got the second point also. What was Simon Commission and why were the people of India revolting against Simon Commission? Nextly, Lahore Congress Summit 1929. So there will be another question in your exam. Lahore Congress Summit 1929 was very important or the basic of Indian Swaraj. How can you say this? In December 1929, Jawaharlal Nehru headed the Lahore Summit. You know that now Lahore in Pakistan. So it will be the objective type question. Who was the leader or who was the head of that summit in Lahore in 1929? You will tell that Jawaharlal Nehru. He demanded for Purna Swaraj. Purna Swaraj here means complete independence. As you learned in the previous Simon Commission point, that British government declared India as a dominion status. It means control under the British. He declared 26 January 1930 was a day of independence for them. 26 January 1930, in the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, all the leaders and all the revolutionary celebrated independence on 26 January 1930 and take an oath that when India will be a free country, Indian Constitution will be implemented on 26 January, and that's why Indian Constitution was implemented on 26 January 1950. I hope you learned the second one major point behind that. And the next is Salt March and the Civil Disobedience Movement. So you learned that there were 2-3 major points in between non-cooperation and the Civil Disobedience Movement. Now we will read about the first step of Civil Disobedience Movement, the Salt March. It will be 5 marks question in exam. 5 marks question in exam that the Salt March played an important role in to rise the Indian revolutionary against the Britisher, or it proved a major point or major decision of Mahatma Gandhi for Indian independence. Justify the statement. Now you will write that Salt March. What was Salt March here? On 31 January 1930, why Salt March? You know that salt is a common mineral used in our food in diet. On 31 January 1930, he means Mahatma Gandhi sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating 11 demands. So Gandhiji said that fulfill our 11 demands, otherwise we will start another movement now. On the other hand, one of the major demand to remove tax from salt. From these 11 demands, one major demand was to remove tax from salt, because you know that it is the thing that every citizen commonly use, poor or rich and what type of society and people is, they all use salt as a common use. That's why Gandhiji demanded to release or to remove tax from salt. He gave an ultimatum to the colonial government. If demands were not fulfilled by 11th of March 1930, the Congress will launch a civil disobedience campaign. And you know, Irwin was not, or Irwin was reluctant to complete that 11 demands, not wishing. That's why Gandhiji started a next movement, civil disobedience movement. I hope you learned the major point about Salt March now. What was the major action during civil disobedience movement or Salt March? What were the action made by Mahatma Gandhi in Salt March? On 12 March 1930, Gandhiji started a Salt March with 78 volunteers, march over 240 miles from Sabarmati ashram of Mahatma Gandhi to Dandi, the coast of Arabian Sea. The place located on Arabian Sea, the coast, on the coastal plain or the coastal area of Gujarat named as Dandi. That's why the Salt March is also known as Dandi March. You know, that's why Dandi March, Salt March is also known as Dandi March. Don't confuse in exam. Nextly, on 6th April, he reached Dandi with his 78 volunteers and made salt or manufactured salt as a revolt. It means to break the laws made by the British government. And it was the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. I hope you learned the main point, that what was why Salt March and what were the main steps involved in that Salt March by Mahatma Gandhi. Nextly, progress of movement. Progress of which movement? Civil disobedience movement. People broke the law as they made salt, and you learned in the previous point now. Mahatma Gandhi also broke the salt law by manufacturing salt on the coast of Arabian Sea in Dandi. Cloth boycotted by the revolutionary and the people of Indian society. And liquor shops were picketed, and you learned the picketing, meaning of picketing yesterday. And next, peasants refused to pay revenue. Peasants refused to pay revenue to the colonial government, that they will not pay the revenue at any cost. Officials resigned. Officials like teachers, lawyers, and other officials resigned from their post. And forest law violated by the tribal people, as you learned yesterday, that the tribal people were not allowed to enter in the forest. Now, how did colonial government control that civil disobedience movement? It will be the another major 5 marks question in exam, that how did colonial government suppress or control that civil disobedience movement? And you will write that colonial government started arresting Congress leaders. They arrested Abdul Ghaffar Khan, was a disciple of or the follower of Mahatma Gandhi. They arrested Abdul Ghaffar Khan in April 1930, and to protest of this arresting, people revolted in Peshawar city, which is located in Pakistan nowadays. And while protesting the colonial government, number of people were brutally beaten by the colonial government, and the people, while revolting, a month later, when Gandhiji also arrested by the colonial government. Now worker attacked buildings, railway stations, and the offices, etc. Now government started a brutal repression, more brutal repression. And the government arrested near about 1 lakh people, approximately 1 lakh people in that movement. So that's why Gandhiji decided to call off the movement. While watching that the civil disobedience movement is going to be turned out to a violent, and nextly Gandhiji was convinced by Irwin, the viceroy at that time, Irwin, convinced by Irwin that you should come in the round table conference in London. We will talk about your 11 demands and whatever the demand you have. So that's why Gandhiji called off that civil disobedience movement. I hope you learned the last one point of today also, and tomorrow we will read about the pact between Gandhi Irwin, was it successful, and then about the shortcoming of civil disobedience movement. And I think in one or two video it will be completed, and I hope you are getting all points in an easy way, and you will get 100 by 100 today, 100 by 100 in your SST exam. Thank you for watching, and if you are new on my YouTube channel, please subscribe the channel, like and share also. Thank you and have a nice evening.